Hey everyone, this is Max here with Perfect Search Media, and you are about to tune in to a video of some Google display and retargeting training. So, if you don't know much about the display network, don't worry because we'll be going over that in this training video. So, to start off, has anyone ever seen a display ad before? Well, if you haven't, it looks like these beautiful banners as seen on slide 3. There are many different sizes that you can use for display, and there's really a lot of options for you to make the ads pop and really catch the eye of the user. So when you think of display network, think of all those images you see while you're on websites, the different videos that pop up, not a part of the pop-up part of the website, but those shopping feeds that you see, they'll show an array of products. All of these are just a combination of different display ads. So when you really look into it and you think, why would someone use the display network? Well, 79% of time is actually spent outside of searching on Google. So what that means is the display network allows you to reach people when customers aren't even searching for you. So that's why, a common thing that you'll hear throughout this presentation is retargeting on display. And part of the reason is because a lot of people don't spend a majority of their time Google searching. So display is a great way to reach people when they're not actively searching for your brand, but they might be interested and they might have in the past. So when you look at display, you can break it down into two portions. You have display prospecting, and this is going after potential customers who have not been to your website before, but through your targeting efforts, you've identified that these people might be someone that is relevant or a potentially qualified customer. So prospecting on display gives you a wide range of inventory to reach new people. So there's millions of websites within the Google Display Network, and prospecting on display is a great way to reach a ton of new users for a brand. And then you have display remarketing, which also can be referred to as retargeting. And what that is to encourage users who have been to the website before to really go back and re-engage on the site, whether that's someone who potentially added an item to their shopping cart and then they bounced. Something came up, life happened. But with display, you're able to reach these people 4 or 5 days later. And it's really just a great way to kind of make sure you're top of mind with customers, even when they're not looking for you. So going into display, let's talk about a few different audiences that we can go after. And when it comes to retargeting, it's a great idea to really test out a ton of different retargeting audiences because you never know how one audience might perform. You could get shocked. Sometimes you think one audience is going to perform really well and it doesn't. So it's very important to test. So when it comes to your retargeting audience, we'll use the example seen in slide 8. So for this account, we're looking at cost per click acting visitors. So that top line there. And what you'll see is that this means that it is a user who has clicked on an ad and has visited the acting landing page, but has not submitted a conversion or a RFI in this scenario. So what we would do with this audience is we would create it and we would be able to retarget them on the display network across a vast array of websites. And we will reach these people in many different ways. They might be on a news website, they might be looking at sports, they might be shopping on a competitor's website or looking at a different school. But because they fall into this audience, we're able to target them within the display network and we can see how they perform stacked up against some of our other retargeting audiences. And similar to what we saw with that top row, that second row is just people that have clicked on the branding landing page from a branding ad. And so it's just a great way to say, hey, don't forget about us. We're still here. And so it's just a great way to, get a vast array of retargeting audiences up and running, and then just seeing how they perform. You can adjust bids depending on the audience performance, but it's really important to have a vast array of retargeting audiences. So another part of dynamic remarketing that I alluded to earlier is dynamic remarketing, and that's those gosh dang shopping ads that pop up and they'll show an array of products, things that you've looked at before, a website you visited and a category you've looked at before. You'll see blue tops, red pants, white shirts, and a wide array of things. And that's because they've tracked you when you went to their site and you clicked on a product and then you looked at it, you fell into, they got your data, they got your cookie. And what they're able to do is reach you across the vast array of display network websites and show you the individual products that you actually looked at. So this is a fantastic remarketing campaign option for e-com clients. This is huge. As you can see in the example, flowers for Mother's Day. All of a sudden, you type that in, visits your web shop, looks at the products as seen in this middle photo, and then finally they end up on a third-party site and they see your array of products right here. So this is a fantastic way to re-engage with customers. And quite frankly, if you have an e-com client and they're not doing dynamic remarketing in some sort of way, they are missing out on a large opportunity. So next, we'll just go over some high-level information around the display network. So on slide 11, you'll see this funnel. And the way we kind of break it down is like the Google display solutions. We want to focus on performance. So when you think of top of funnel, you really think of business awareness, brand awareness, making sure people know who you are. And the more granular part of that is how do we target that? So we look at placements. Where are our ads showing? We look at the demographics that we might be targeting. Affinity segments. Maybe someone has an affinity for blue flowers. Well, we might go target them. And then finally, topic targeting, which is where you can choose a topic of sites that you can go after, such as career sites like Indeed.com or Jobs.com. So following the more high-level business brand awareness, you go into influence consideration. And so what this might mean is we might make a campaign that's keyword targeting. And what that means is, as you saw in the previous slide, the Mother's Day flowers that someone typed into search, well, we can actually plug that in through a display campaign, and the display network is able to show ads to people that have searched that in the past. Or, it really creates a more nuanced approach at going after still a little bit mid-funnel, kind of a little bit brand awareness, but more so, hey, consider us as a potential option to purchase from. And then on the other side, we have in-market audiences. And what these do is it buckets people into audiences defined by Google that says this user is in the market to purchase a bouquet of flowers. And you don't want to see the magic behind the curtain, okay? You want to keep that to Google. But what they're able to do is bucket thousands to millions of users in different segments, and it's great for new customer acquisition. And it's really important to overlay your in-market audiences to really see someone who might be in market for a house also might be very willing to buy flowers, and that audience might perform extremely well. So it's really, really important to kind of test all these different audiences. And then similar audiences, I won't go too much into, but that is similar to your lookalike audiences on Facebook. You give Google a list of customers, and you say, Google, I want you to find people who are similar to this. And that could be an action performed on your site. So you could just segment out purchases and say, I want I want you to find people who are similar to all of my converters. And Google will do that. And so finally, at the end, you'll see this drive sales and really advocacy part. So that is where we hit our retargeting, and that's where that final kind of push gets them, and then they just boom right over the hump, convert. So what's important to note here is that you can't get to the bottom of the funnel without having that top part. And sometimes you have to navigate the waters, and prospecting on display can sometimes not yield direct results. But the important part of it is you're fueling that bottom part of the funnel, and you're really help building a customer journey. So on the previous slide, I went over a ton of different audience options throughout that funnel. And this next slide just kind of gives you an overview of what it looks like in putting that into Google. So you'll see we have our affinity and custom affinity audiences. We have our in-market audiences and custom intent. And then finally, we have our remarketing and similar audiences. So really, the big takeaway here is if you look on this right side, you'll see that it says targeting and observation. And those are two functions. You can choose whether you want to exclusively target audiences on the display network, or you can observe them. And really, that kind of varies depending on how defined your audiences are. If you know for a fact that in-market audiences for people who are in market for housing performs really well, then you might want to just set that display campaign to targeting because you know that does well. But if you're maybe testing out a few different things, maybe you want to overlay that and put that in-market house audience on a campaign and just observe how they perform. So observation allows you to pick up on performance without exclusively targeting that audience. So it's great if you're trying to understand how a new audience might respond to your ads. And then next is, some great options by Google. They also give you a ton of different ideas. We have some further examples of in-market audiences for education. And really, there's just a vast array of targeting you can do on display. So it's very important to come to the table with not only pre-thought out strategies that make sense for the client, but you also have to be willing to dynamically change and test out different things because the display network can work really well in 10 ways and really bad in 3. But if you get stuck on the bad 3, you'll never see the good 10. So when it comes to display, you've got a lot of inventory. You have a lot of different websites that fall into the display network, and it's really crucial, especially for clients looking to gather more awareness, to get on the display network with strong ads, fleshed out strategy, and ironclad targeting. Thank you. Any questions?